Yes, very warm good afternoon to everybody. So today we have one session on basics of ethical hacking. To deliver this talk, we have with us our own alumni of our institute, Mr. Pranay Manek. He is the senior software engineer in Barracuda. Earlier, he was working in the domain of cybersecurity in Checkpoint. So he's mainly um, career is on networking domain. So he's into all security to provide security for the companies and the so he's mainly dealing with security domain. So he deals with various companies with respect to various clients working on maybe server side and other other stuff. So today he's just make a move to just to introduce what is ethical hacking is all about. Why is it important? Why it is necessary, or what is the necessary to know about hacking? What is the future and all that? He will just walk through us. All right. So I request Panay and on behalf of department and on behalf of the KLEIT fraternity, I welcome Pranay Manek to the audience and I request him to take over the session.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the brief introduction. Hey, hi, everybody. Very good afternoon. I hope you guys are done with your lunch, and I hope you guys are fresh enough, to bear me out for next 45 to 60 minutes. Please try to be as interactive as you can, because end of the session, either I might sleep or I might doze off. If that happens, please do call. Yeah. Thank you. So, guys, please feel free to ask your questions, doubts if you have any, or if you think it is going above your head, you need something more in detail or in depth or more basics. Please feel free, to ask questions and raise your hands. I'm here to help you, assist you, and tell you how cybersecurity works today. And I hope my voice is audible to you guys. And I'm just sharing my screen. So let me know if you guys are able to see my screen as well.
Yes, everything is fine.
Great, great. So I always say, ethical hacking, the good, bad, ugly. Now, yes, it looks a little Bollywood film name, or sorry, a Hollywood film name, the good, bad, something similar to that. But the content or the way ethical hacking today is spoken about is like that. There is a very thin line difference between the good, the bad, and the ugly. So what we will do is, in today's session, we'll look at ethical hacking. We'll see, how attackers work, what is their, why do they do it, and then maybe we'll see the career aspects, how you can grow in terms of ethical hacking, and also in terms of information security. To give you a brief, Pradeep sir has already given a brief introduction about me. So I currently work as a systems engineer with Barracuda Networks. So that's where it's been 7 years plus working for me in this industry, and security is something which everybody needs. Why I am saying this is we all can relate back to our basic lifestyle what we have. So we all have our own ways of looking at things, right? So again, we keep things in a bank locker, or maybe we have police, or we have security guards everywhere, because the moment you have a door, it all needs security. So that's how it is. How many of you know what is this? So how many of you know what is this on the screen, what you are seeing? Any idea, or anybody has googled upon this image? So everybody's on mute or something, or how is it?
Some they are testing as well.
Oh, okay, okay. No worries, no worries. Let me check the chats. Yeah, it is a computer, but how old is this computer according to you? So this is a classic, very old computer, which was used back in early days when Charles Babbage said this is what is computer, and what is the storage this box has? It was just uh, you know 8 bytes, sorry, 8 kilobytes. That's it. And how many of you know what is this? I definitely know, everybody knows what is this. I definitely know, everybody knows what is this which is being shared on your screen right now. So this is nothing but an iPhone, yeah. And how old is this? This is iPhone 13, which is very recent. I can say, just like launched 6 months back. And what is the amount of storage this has? The minimum which comes today is 128 GB, right? So like I said, this is where we have done a lot of advancements in terms of technology, and that is where things have changed. So how many of you know about the first hack? How it happened, where it happened is what it is written here, but how was it done actually? So, do you guys, remember back in, I know you guys are, still young and fresh in engineering, but you must have seen those PCO machines where you had that dial pads which used to turn and come back and be still. Are you aware of that kind of a machine? So, I so do you guys remember? Yeah. So this was the phone where the first hack happened, right? So you had that tring machines where you used to turn a number and then you used to make a call. So what exactly happened in this scenario is people were using this machine, but the way it then went on was people started making phone calls out of it. Now, how they used to make phone calls out of it? They just used to tap the
Pranay, can you hear me? Pranay? Uh, there might be some technical glitch. Just hang on. Just hang on.
I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know. Somehow I got disconnected from the call. I hope am I audible
Yeah,
to you guys?
yeah, yeah. You're on.
Great. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Technical challenges always do come up, right?
Diksha, you have a question?
Yeah. So where did where do you guys lose me the last? If somebody can highlight.
The first hack itself, where the phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you, I know, I hope you all know, right? This is an iPhone today. Like somebody put it in the chat window at that point in time. So this is how an iPhone looks today. And what is the storage this has? 256 GB, 128 GB. Yeah, so that's the amount of storage what we are talking today. Now all this advancement has come in, and that is where the need for information security is increasing. So how many of you know about the first hack which happened? Anybody? I know, I have written the dates, I know I have written where it happened, but if you guys can see where it happens, tell me how it happened, it would be a great great point to understand hacking. Oops, sorry. Yeah. So how many of you remember the old phones which we had? So let me just stop sharing my screen and I'll share something different. Maybe a browser tab or something. Just give me a second, guys. Yeah. So how many of you remember, this kind of phones? So basically, these were the phones where hacking was very easy. Now, how did it happen? So basically, these phones used to work on something called as sound, which means when I dial the number, when I turn the dial pad from say 0 to 9 and then come back to zero, there's a peculiar sound which it used to create, and based on that, your numbers used to be dialed. Now, if you wanted to be a hacker of that kind of a sort, you just need to master the art of making the right sound on the phone. So that is what hackers did in 1878, and that is when the first hack was discovered. But again, there are various questions which come around when we talk about hacking today. Everybody has a question: what is hacking? So if I go back to history, when computers started, when software was a very new thing which was rolled out for everybody, when it basically, when you used to do those punch-ins, right? You had those dirty hands, black inks which used to come in. So that time the hackers were the one team who were actually targeted, or who were the group of people who used to create a fix for problems which you had. So say for example, if you're dialing something, if you're using something like, say for example, a phone, if it does not work, the person who comes and fixes it was called as a hacker. The same thing continued until a later period of 1975s and 80s, when hacking was only defined as the person who fixes the solution. But sooner after that, the definition of hacking has changed. The definition of hacking today is more to do with the person who's offensive or defensive in terms of finding out what is right, what is wrong in terms of the attacks which are happening. So, what are the types of hackers you see today? These are the types of hackers which commonly are being spoken about in the entire industry: the black ones, the white ones, the grays, the greens, the blues, and the hacktivists. So what is a black one? The black one is something who's doing illegal activity. So I'm a hacker. I don't care. I want to make money. I want to make my choice of life. I want to make sure if I have a revenge with somebody, or if I want to defame somebody, I'm a black hat hacker. So the one who's not ethical, the one who does not want to do anything in the right way, but he wants to use his knowledge in the wrong way of hacking, he's called as a black hat hacker. So then comes the white hat hackers. These are the legal ones. So, say for example, if you do a certification in hacking, you learn how you can do hacking. You learn of different softwares. You learn to you understand, or you learn how to use different tools to create an attack and master that attack on a specific kind of an software or a hardware or solution which is being used in an organization, and you come and tell them, that this is where your security lacks. So basically you need to work on creating a better in terms of security. Those guys are called as the white hat hackers today. So there are the next one are the gray hats. Now you I told you what is black, I told you what is white. So now what happens, on a color palette when you mix black and white as a color? Anybody any idea on that? Maybe you want to, I know definitely it's a very basic question, and it's a very silly one, but if you guys can, know about it, you can definitely answer it. Yeah, exactly. It's gray. So, so the gray guys are the guys, who are good, and they turn out to be bad because they have too much of information. They want to use that information and sell things to people. Or they were the black guys who, ended up saying, it's enough of doing black work. Now let's do it white. So these people become the gray hat hackers. But when you become a gray hat hacker, there's a definitely question mark which comes, in terms of integrity issues, in terms of what kind of a person you are, and so on, in terms of the HR process. The green ones are more like the ones who are, hacker in progress, which means, these are the guys who are learning different tricks, tactics, how to create an attack, what to do, how do we make sure, things work. So these can either turn out to be the ones in black or the ones in white or a gray one. Then comes the blue ones. These are more like a software tester in terms of hacking. So they, basically do testing. They do, different types of hacks to see if, the piece of code which you have written is can be hacked, or is there any loophole or vulnerability when we talk about a software. So before I go ahead, I said our terminology which is called as vulnerability. If you guys know what is a vulnerability, it's okay. If not, I can give you a little bit of a depth in that aspect as well. So either if you guys can unmute and talk about it, or maybe you can put it in the chat window, that would be really great, and I'll read it out for you as well. So I don't see any questions which are coming up. So I'll just say that, assume it, I'll explain it again to you guys. So vulnerability is nothing but a weakness. So say for example, you have a software that has a weakness, or maybe there is a backdoor entry, or maybe there is a way, you can hook a code into the software and execute your malicious activity. That is called a vulnerability. Is that okay? It was basic enough. If it still confuses you, do let me know. I'll definitely, assist you on that as well. Okay, so great. Let's look at, the next part, which are the hacktivists. Now, who are hacktivists? Hacktivists are those guys who actually want to use all the cyber techniques to, to do some activities like, say for example, defame a country, or maybe, defame a government, or post something bad about things, or even send out, emails in terms of how things are working in scenarios, right? So activists are one, who use those boards, they create fights, they do all that kind of stuff. These things, the same things can be done on internet today. Post, a viral media on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on, and defame somebody. That is what hacktivists do. So, how many of you guys are actually bored?
Yes, sir.
You're not bored? Sure. Okay, great. I what I'll do is maybe I'll just show you something interesting. Just give me a second, guys, before I do something interesting for you. Okay, so basically, before I do something interesting, can somebody share me your email address? Just one email address would be good enough. Don't worry, I'm not going to steal your passwords or something. But I'll show you something interesting. But again, whatever I'm going to show you, these are with terms and conditions. You do not play around with these tools in your real life, because this will definitely affect your career and a lot of other things as well. So maybe I'll use somebody's email address which is there here. Let me share my screen. I hope you guys are able to see my screen again. Uh, how many of you know about a tool like this? So what is this? This is nothing but a fake mailer. So what I will do is I will just say my from name is hacker, right? I'll use from email as right, and maybe let me use somebody's ID here. Say I use 1 second. Okay, I'll just put this. I'll just say subject line as you are hacked. I know what is your password. Can you please pay me 50 bitcoins? If we just click on the send button, and email was sent successfully. So, what did I actually do? So I sent a fake mail, which has a fake email address, which has no history of the email server, or which has no belonging in terms of the email server. And Diksha Pawar, who's shared her email address, the first one which I could see, I just sent a fake email to that email ID. So Diksha, I just check if you've got that email or not, and you can
Yes,
use.
sir, I got it.
Yeah, maybe you want to share your screen or something and show it to people.
Sure, sir.
So this is how you can actually use fake mailers, and you can scare people as well. But again, like I told you, please do not use these tools or on people or where you can be in a risk of being legally challenged, right? So that's why this was just an interesting trick which I wanted to show you guys. Okay, so that's how you can use different tricks and tips to hack different solutions, or use different techniques. So the next question which always people have, right? Why people create hacks and then create havocs? So how many of you know what is Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Can somebody explain this to me? This is a very interesting conversation which we're going to have in next few minutes. If somebody can, explain what is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, so what Maslow's hierarchy of needs is, everybody has needs, and there are different types of needs at a different level which satisfy every human being. The first one is physiological need. The physiological need can be, I want to buy an iPhone, I want to buy a car, I want to have a super bike, I want to, do bungee jumping, or maybe do something like that. So that's my physiological need. Then, there's a need for people to have safety. You must have seen your parents investing in, LIC policies, or fixed deposits, and creating multiple different things. So that is more to do with safety. The third thing which everybody needs is love and belonging, which means I belong to somebody. There is care, there is, people who understand your pain, who want to talk to you, who want to solve your problems. That is where love and belonging, comes into picture. Then comes your esteem. It's more about, how I am, what I do, how I do. And lastly is self actualization, or you talk about more of how I am as a person, or what I do as a person. So what I did was, when I was doing some of my studies, and when I did some of my understanding in terms of people's requirement and how attackers work, I developed something called as Pranay's hierarchy of security threats. So so this again is associated with different types of attackers. Now there are different types of attackers. The first one are the random attacks. Like, these are, the newbies who want to, attack, who want to see how things work, how, if I use this tool, and if I try to exploit a vulnerability, how will it happen, what data will I get. So these are the guys, who just are random attackers. They just want to create havoc. They don't know what is the effect of it. They just try to learn and do some activities. Next ones are the smash and once you evolve yourself, the next thing you want to do is you want to smash and grab. So you become more specific in your approach. You become more you start picking your targets. You start understanding what you need to do. You start using different tools, and you start exploiting different vulnerabilities to make sure, as an attacker, the person is smart enough. Then these attackers become more targeted, more specific. Like, say for example, there is, I want to target a specific organization only. I have a specific grudge. I have more to do with, specific people. So that is where, the shift in terms of security today is moving more towards social engineering, and more on single entity of attacks. Lastly, people want to manipulate people, and these are, state level attacks or nation level attacks. Like, for example, again, this is purely example, no political views here on this call, because we are all here to learn new things. uh, it's more to do with, how BJP versus Congress, or how things fade around that aspect. There is somebody who's come and say up and all that thing. But that's how things or attacks are happening today. So this is the different hierarchy of threats, and this explains you the thought process, or mentality in terms of, attackers, how they want to attack, and what they want to do. So whenever an hacker does an attack, right, what is that he does? So basically, to do that, there is something called as a cyber kill chain. Now, what is a cyber kill chain? It's a process of 7 steps where I try to exploit and attack, and get my objectives resolved. So at the overview level, the cyber kill chain is the first step is to do a recon. So I do reconnaissance. I find out how I can get into it. The second thing which I do is I weaponize, which means I use different types of attacks or skill sets, or maybe different forms of attacks, and use them to create an attack. The next thing is I deliver that attack. Once I deliver, which means I am successful, and once I'm inside, I start my exploitation. So I am using some vulnerabilities, or I'm breaking the security softwares which they're using, and installing something, and then making sure I have control of the systems which are running there, and finally do my objectives and goals. So this is what is called as cyber kill chain. So any of the black hat hackers who are there today, they would predominantly be focusing on these 7 steps. This is a very important aspect when it comes to creating an attack. So even if you're a white hat hacker, a white hat hacker would look at these same 7 steps and then create a different kind of attacks which are happening. So the next one is how these attacks happen, or how exactly things happen. So for that, there is something called as MITRE attack framework. So what MITRE attack framework is, it has 14 different steps in terms of an attack to happen, and each of these 14 different steps has sub techniques which can be used to attack a specific application, specific software, a specific vulnerability which is being there. So let's look at each of these phase in next few slides. The first one, so basically, like I told you, it is tactics, techniques, and the documents related to it. So tactics are nothing but these are how what are the attacks, how do you use them. Then the techniques are the ones which tell you that this is how an attack should be done, or these are the techniques of attacks which happen. And lastly, there is an advisory, how you can protect yourself from such attacks. So let's look at each one of these. So the first stage in terms of any attack that you do is reconnaissance. So how many of you know how a bank robbery happens, or how many of you have ever read anything about a bank robbery? What people do? What is the first step which everybody does when I want to do a bank robbery? I everybody anybody who wants to do a robbery would first do a reconnaissance. Like if I'm talking of a bank, how many security guards are there? Do they have guns in their hand? Do they store cash? What is the amount of cash they store? Where do they store? Yes, even Pradeep, like you rightly said, it's more of information gathering, observing, learning, and understanding how the attack can be created. So once you have good amount of information, once you have finalized what is your target, once you have understood everything, the next thing is resource development, which means you start uh, creating an infrastructure. So when like I was telling you the example of a bank, so here again you need a van, you need a mask, you need specific types of clothes, you need specific type of tools to cut through the metal bars, or break the walls, or you need some explosive to break things and all that. So this is the research and development phase, is more to do with gathering different tools and techniques which you can use in terms of creating an attack. So once you create an attack, the next thing is you need access. Now, because you had planned everything, you have created your tools. Next thing what you do is you use all those tools to get access. The most common thing which is being used in IT today is spear phishing, which means it's like I use a phishing email, I target people, I tell them, I lure them, say, you need to click on this link, or maybe you need to, help me out with some information, and that's where if this thing happens, your initial access is done. You have entry into the account. Once you have the entry, the next thing is the execution phase. In the execution phase, you are executing the plan which you had created for the robbery. You start disabling the alarms, you start disabling security guards, and you start handling most of the things as a function. I could give you a very classic example. You use a RAT tool in IT. It is nothing but a remote access tool where you just install it on some software or a machine, and you get access to them. The next is persistence. Because you have gotten, you want to basically stronger your foothold into the complete attack scale. So you start getting more and more. You start attacking more. You become more lethal in this aspect. So once you're persistent, you now need privilege. Now, when I say privilege, if I'm talking of a bank robbery, I would need privilege to access the place where the money is being stored. So similarly, there are many rules, right, in industry as well. So guys who worked with Active Directory would know more about it. So or even if you worked on Linux, right, there is something called as root. Now, root is the super user. He can do anything. He has permission to do everything on that machine. So that's called privilege escalation, getting the most privileged access on that specific machine. So once you have you've done that, the next thing now have all the privileges, which means I can uninstall a anti-malware or antivirus solution, or I can do any sorts of activity that I want to perform. And then what I do is I try to gain more details. I try to see how I can get more information, or if I'm missing out something in the attack, I try to get more details about it. Finally, I discover everything, try to figure, explore what else can that is there I can control. Once the discovery phase is done, it's lateral movement. I try to, laterally spread the attack in the entire organization, and then, collect all the information and come out. And lastly, collection, which is nothing but which is what we discussed. And then I keep a command and control inside. So I tell the machine to do what I want to do, or maybe I launch a ransomware attack, or maybe I interfere with the traffic which is coming in, and finally do all my task and leave the premise, or delete all the traces which I had left for an attack. So that's the complete process of the MITRE attack framework. So it starts with reconnaissance, it's end with exfiltration, and everything finishes here. So what is the impact? So if you see impact, is either you lose your data. If I'm talking in terms of IT, if I talk in terms of bank, bank loses its money. There is so much of destruction which happens. There is so much amount of havoc which gets created. People get confused. People are not sure what exactly to do. Right. So that's how the MITRE attack framework works today. But in terms of security, there are two types of team. There is a teaming activity which is happening now. This is more in terms of because we are the good guys, right? We are not the bad guys. We always want to be on the good side of the things. So the most of the IT security or the hacking is more focusing today in terms of the red team and blue team. So what is a red team? Red team is the one who's trying to attack, or these are the set of attackers where you say this server or this software is your attack test bed. You create as many attacks as you can, whereas the task of blue team is to maintain security and make sure the hack is not successful, or maybe the hack never happened. But again, this created a lot of challenges in the industry, because the red teams always know about the attack. and blue team always knows about they only know about the security. So both need to work together. So that is where the purple team came into picture. So what is purple team? Purple team is mix of red and blue, where we create different types of attacks. The same attacker is creating an attack, and the same person who's creating the attack is preventing these attacks. So when it comes to creating attacks and how do you do it, is these are some of the tools which you would need. So, what is network exploitation? So, network exploitation is a tool which tries to use different network tool mechanism like uh, you know uh, uh, you use Nmap or Nikto to identify what are the ports which are open. Once you know what ports are open, you definitely know what protocols are running on this port. Once you know what protocols are running on this port, the next thing is you need to find out how vulnerable these ports are, and finally launch an attack. The next one are the tools which are probing tools. So what is probing? Probing, like we all know, right? It's asking more set of questions, is understanding what kind of activities can be done, what exactly cannot be done, right? So you try to probe the security functionalities and find out what is happening. Then there are scanners. These scanners are more to tell what vulnerabilities exist in a specific set of customer or user or server or software. Then there are password crackers. You go to Google, you just type password cracker, you'll get so many tools. And definitely, if you guys want to learn about password cracking, maybe we can have a hands-on session on that as well at a later point. Sometimes next week, where we'll just use some simple tools where you can guess the user's password on a Windows machine or a Linux machine as well. Then remote administration tools. These are tools which remotely you can manage a system. You can say, for example, if you want to click open the camera, you want to do some screen recordings without the user knowing it, you can do this. Like I told you, what is a backdoor? Backdoor is something where there is a vulnerability which can be accessed, and you can use it in terms of creating an attack. Denial of service, pretty common these days. Sometimes if you're not able to visit some websites, either the website is overloaded, something which happened on Flipkart on their the first big billion day sale which they had. So those are nothing but denial of service. Then the most common hacking tool, or the white hat common hacking tool which is there, is recovery of deleted files. There are n number of tools which are available to recover your hard disk, or data which is there on a hard disk, and that is where you can fill a lot of information about it. And then you have web tools, which is more to do with your web application attacks, and this is how you can identify different web applications. So just skip this slide, the previous one. So if you look at career aspects in terms of hacking and security, it's very simple, crisp, and clear. You have three layers in terms of your career. The first one being your entry point. This is where you can be either a person who's in the red team or the blue team. So if you're in the red team, you can do some certifications like certified ethical hacker, which is called CH. Your major task would be associate you would be associate guy, would be trying to analyze things. You would be trying to find vulnerabilities, who would be trying to create different attacks and prove that these attacks actually happen in the organization. And definitely there are good amount of roles which are open for this specific aspect in career today. The next is, once you complete 3 to 4 years of experience there, uh, you become more understanding. So that is where your actual security role starts, where you start securing different applications. You talk about engineering different securities, and there are different certificates, like you can use some cyber ops certificates, or you can do a CISSP, or you can do some ops certificates as well. So once you graduate from there, you can do your CISSP, and you can get into more of more stable role, where you become the controller of more of the security solutions which are being used. And finally, the last thing, the much spoken strategy today, or the much spoken rule about being a CISO, or information security guy, or somebody like that, is what you get. And this usually takes a good amount of time for experience for you to gain to this level. So these are the career aspects which you have, and this is about ethical hacking, or in terms of how hacking works as a technology. So if you have any questions or doubts, I'll leave it to you there.
Guys, any questions? Anything which you want to interact? There must be lot of questions, I feel, because I heard from second year students that they want sessions on ethical hacking. Yes? No? Harish says no. See, you should be proactive to ask one after the other questions. Yeah, one question from Amit Pranay. Best way to learn hacking?
Okay, so the best way to learn hacking is, the first very important aspect is reading. Now, why reading is important is because that is what builds your basic. Now, to give you a very simple example, if I talk of hacking a computer system, or a operating system, right? I need to know how the operating system works. So first thing, if you want to learn hacking, you learn how that solution works, or how that specific thing works. Then try to understand the vulnerability, and that is where your process of learning hacking starts. And over a period of time, if you can get that how things work, and how you can crack the hack to it, you can definitely do your CEH certification, that is certified ethical hacker certifications, and you can definitely be a good ethical hacker as well. There are a lot of CH courses which are being done by different third parties. Definitely you can visit them as well. So this is what CH talks about. The So this is what it consists of, and this is where you can learn a lot many things about hacking. Does that help to answer your question, Amit? Great.
What I feel is normally people don't show actually I mean, they will not show how hacking is done, correct? I mean, like if you are trying to demonstrate how hacking happens, normally nobody will show you how hacking happens actually, right, Pranay?
Yeah. See, basically, when it comes to hacking today, it's lot of techniques, and whole lot of thought process which goes behind it. Now, why do I say thought process? Is because how do you hack is the first important thing, or what do you hack? Now you identify a target, then you try to find the vulnerabilities, or the exploits which you can use on those vulnerabilities, and then you try to attack it. It basically takes a lot amount of time. Definitely we can create some demonstrations, and we can show it, but in real scenario it is much different. It's way beyond the game what it looks from outside. So showing a hack is very easy, but again, these are all ethical or unethical. There are a lot of questions which come into picture. So people usually refrain showing from different hacking tricks.
Every year one summit will happen. Maybe it will be revolving around the globe, sometimes in Netherlands, sometimes in Sweden, sometimes in Australia, like that. Every year they try to discuss about what are the new hacking techniques are there. what are the new portfolios in hacking, how they can fix their systems, and how the government norms have should be, how the cybersecurity cell should work. With respect to all that, they will have one summit every year. Okay, so yeah, Karthik is asking one question. Tell about Linux operating system, how to learn basics from open source.
Okay,
Right?
so open source is a very vast topic today. Now, why do I say it's a very vast topic? Is because uh, there are so many things which go into open source, right? Like for example, if I say open source, there's a OS which is open source. There's an application which is open source. Now, this is something which is very complex as a solution to talk about. One, two, Linux operating systems. This is nothing but like I tell you again, it's all your C++ concepts which go in. There are different types of Linux service providers. Like there is Fedora, there is Ubuntu, there is Red Hat, and there are so many versions of the open source software which are available today. Right now, basically, why these are open source is because everybody in the industry wants you to use these open source softwares to create different tools and put it in use for the organization itself. Now, Linux as an operating system is beautiful, but again, it has its own flaws and vulnerabilities. And in the recent past 5 to 7 years, I've seen, there are so many attacks which can be crafted on a Linux machine. So it's not that any operating system is safe. It's just that, we have to be smart enough in terms of learning things. So Amit, this is something which you will have to do your research on, because you want to. So the question what Amit has asked is, sir, any good idea where we can learn ethical hacking and cyber security? There are many platforms which are available today. What I would recommend is, you look at these platforms, try to learn. One thing I would say is, you can register to a lot of magazines which are coming in. So if you say, if you just go to Google and type, uh, you can just learn a lot of things about it, and you'll see a lot of magazines where you'll get a lot of updates, and you'll see how you can learn. But I can tell you one thing: if you want to learn about hacking, is try to download and install Metasploit. It's like, Bible of an hacker. Why? Because it has any vulnerability that you see, Metasploit has exploit ready in it. It's just that you have to create that exploit and use it. So there's one question which says, which type of hacking is best for beginners? So when it comes to hacking, best for beginners, there is nothing called as what is best for beginners. If you know basics of how things work, you already have started to learn how to hack. That's my very fundamental answer to that question. Reason being very simple. Uh, if you know how to open a gate, right, you know how to get inside the gate. Now there are two ways how you can open a gate, right? One, you directly go straight forward to the gate and open it. The second way is of doing it in stealth. So basically, when I say stealth, is, the way where people don't understand you have opened the gate and you have entered it. So if you know how to open the gate, or if you know how the gate functions, or if you know where there is a loophole in terms of gate, then you've started learning how to hack. So if you're a beginner, if you're learning new, learn your basics, keep your basics strong. That is what helps you in hacking as well. I hope that answers the question.
Guys, any questions more? Any other questions, guys? Yeah. Any questions? No? Yeah. So Pranay, anything from your side?
Yeah, just one small thing, guys. You are still in your initial days of engineering. What I would really recommend is you guys spend a lot of time, or the maximum time in terms of learning, in terms of reading, in terms of identifying basics, in terms of getting the basic knowledge, because the moment you grow, right, uh, things around those basics change, but those basics never change. Like for example, once you learn networking, the things you learn, like about switching, routing, like these are the concepts which never change. If I talk of oops today, it does not change. If I talk about database today, there are different types of database, like Postgres has come in, there is MySQL, there's so many solutions which are available. But again, database is nothing but database. How to use your data structures. So all these things remain the same. So stick to your basics. It's just about different tools and techniques which you learn over a period of time. So if you keep your basics intact, you can build a lot of knowledge about these basics. So that is what I would like to talk about it. If you have any questions, you definitely can find me on LinkedIn, and you can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well.
Yes, Janvi, what question you have, ma?
Sorry, sir, no question. It happened by mistake, sir.
Done. Uh,
Okay, Harish, the answer to this is yes and no. Reason being very simple. That's why there's a yes and no is because in my day-to-day life, there is some amount of hack which I show everybody. But again, it is more only related to my profession and nothing else. And I've never hacked anything for bad reasons, because I never felt like we should do something for anything bad. Yeah, I have fooled people definitely in my family, to to just show that I can do some hacking as well. So that's my answer to it. So Dhruv,
yes.
white attackers are the good guys who use hacking to prove that the solution or the software or the complete thing or the complete IT equipment or infrastructure that you use has vulnerabilities, and this is how it can be exploited. So these guys are legal; they are paid to do this in with a lot of legal permissions and right permissions in place. Okay, so this is a very interesting question. That in college you get a lot of information which is theoretical. How do we practically implement it now? Okay, so just let me pick up very simple example, right? And then we lack in skills. Yeah, but what you've pointed out is something which is more to do with your interest. Now, say for example, if you I don't know which year you belong to, but say for example, if one of the topics which I still remember is Linux. Now if you're learning about Linux, definitely there are set of commands. There are so many virtualization tools available today. Take those virtualization tools, put it in your system, or laptops or desktops, run those machines, run those commands, how these commands work. Try to do more, try to Google about it. Now Google is mother father of every information that you need. So like I was telling you how to Google, just just go to Google and just give me a second. Yeah. So what is the most used command in Linux? Li is one of the most used commands in Linux, correct? One second. Now, sorry, it's ls, not li. I'm so sorry. That's so bad of me. Yeah. So what is ls? Now you just go here. You can see what Linux does, how you can use it, what exactly happens, right? So you can see everything about the ls command. Yeah, right. You see options, files, how you can use it, what is the output, how does it look, right? So this is how you can learn more about it. This is how you can understand more about it. Similarly, if you're talking of networking experiences, there are so many network simulation tools which are available today. So you can use those simulation tools, and you can get a lot of other knowledge as well in terms of that aspect. So, how much a ethical hacker gets paid per annum nowadays? That's a very interesting question. It all depends on the skill sets that you have. But to begin with, the you can definitely make good, 5 to 8 lakhs per annum, depending again on your skill sets. But again, what I would say is, rather focusing on money, the moment you get into your career, the first 5 years, please focus on getting your career on right footsteps, and then definitely money or remunerations or whatever is required, definitely it follows you.
Yes, any more questions? No? Okay, so guys, we'll close. Before we close, just a formal proceedings. Okay, so on behalf of the KLE management, um, on behalf of KLEIT entire fraternity, I'd like to thank Pranay Manek for sparing his time and sharing some of the views about ethical hacking for our students. I hope this was helpful for the students. This was not just in depth. We can explore to any level. Guys who need little more enhancements on these topics, please get back to me so that I can arrange some new lectures on ethical hacking and others. There are some of the people who are known as ethical hackers. I'll get in touch with you so that you can talk to them. All right. So it was great talking to you, Pranay, and a wonderful session. I
Yep.
hope all the students have learned something. So if you have any questions, you can just revert back, else we'll close. I hope Pranay is shared in LinkedIn. You can find him there. If any questions are there, you can contact him. Right? So any questions, guys, before we